Welcome to Detachment Diaries. This channel is about situationships, emotional patterns, and personal growth. I share stories from my past, not to shame anyone, but to understand myself and learn. If you relate to patterns of attachment, ambiguity, or emotional cycles, you're in the right place. I want to talk about something that's not very flattering to admit. My ego played a big role in my dating life. And for a long time, I didn't even realize it. Because I thought I was just following attraction, or chemistry, or preference. But when I started reflecting on my patterns, I realized something uncomfortable. Sometimes I didn't actually like the guy. What I liked was what dating him said about me. Now, I want to be honest here. I do consider myself attractive. I know I'm pretty. But I also know I'm not supermodel pretty. And because of that, there were moments in my dating life where I felt like certain guys were out of my league. So if I managed to date someone who was really good looking, it felt like a win. Like I accomplished something. And I hate admitting this, but sometimes I like the idea of parading that around, like an eye candy. If I was walking around with a very attractive guy, it made me feel good about myself. Like people would see us and think, oh wow, she got him. It was like having eye candy. And that feeling gave my ego a boost. But the question I didn't ask myself back then was this. Do I actually like this person? Or do I just like the validation that comes from being with them? Because those are two very different things. And sometimes we confuse them. Especially if you grew up feeling insecure about your attractiveness. For me, I think a lot of it traces back to my teenage years. I was a late bloomer. I had acne. I didn't get pursued by guys. I didn't feel like I was one of those girls that guys noticed or chased. So when I got older and suddenly men were interested in me, it felt like something inside me was being healed or validated. Every time a guy pursued me, it soothed that old insecurity. It was like telling my younger self, see, you're desirable. See, you guys do want you. And that validation became addictive if you're not careful. Because then dating stops being about connection. It becomes about proving something to yourself. Another ego trap I fell into was something I call exception syndrome. You know those guys who have a reputation, the ones people call fuckboys, the ones who are known for not committing, the ones who say they don't do relationships, but then they tell you something like, you're different, you're special, you're not like the others, and suddenly your brain goes, wait, am I the exception? And if you have an ego like mine used to, that feels amazing. Because now it feels like you won a competition that no one else won. Like somehow you unlocked a version of him that other women didn't get. And that feeling can make you ignore reality. Because logically, if someone says they're not looking for a relationship, the healthiest response is to believe them. But when ego gets involved, you start thinking, maybe he just hasn't met the right person. Maybe I'll be the one who changes his mind. And when he gives you little crumbs of attention, it reinforces that belief. There was also another behavior that I'm not very proud of admitting. I used to compare myself to a guy's exes. If I found out what his ex looked like, I would look at her photos. And sometimes I would catch myself thinking things like, is she prettier than me? Am I prettier than her? Do I look better? Which, if I'm being honest, is a pretty clear sign of insecurity. Because when you're secure in yourself, you don't feel the need to compete with people from someone's past. But when you're still seeking validation, you want to feel like you're the best one they've had, like you won. And that again is the ego talking, not genuine connection. Psychologically, this actually makes a lot of sense. There's something called external validation dependency. It's when your sense of worth is strongly influenced by how other people perceive you. If people praise you, pursue you, or desire you, you feel valuable. If they withdraw, reject you, or choose someone else, your self-worth drops. And when you're in that mindset, relationships become very unstable emotionally because your confidence rises and falls depending on someone else's attention. And I lived in that cycle for a while. If a guy liked me, I felt amazing. If a guy pulled away, I felt like something was wrong with me. And that's exhausting. The interesting thing is that ego-driven attraction can actually trick you because the excitement feels real, but what you're feeling isn't necessarily love or connection. It's validation. It's the dopamine hit of being chosen. And the problem with chasing validation is that it's never enough. You keep needing more of it. Another compliment, another attractive guy interested in you, another moment where you feel like you won. But eventually you realize something. That kind of validation doesn't actually make you feel secure. It just temporarily distracts you from insecurity. The biggest shift for me happened when I started working on internal validation. Instead of relying on other people to confirm my worth, I started building that confidence myself. And honestly, that process takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. You have to really examine your patterns, your insecurities, your childhood experiences, and understand where those beliefs came from. But once you start developing self-love, something interesting happens. External validation stops hitting the same way. When someone compliments you, it's nice, but it doesn't define you anymore. If someone says you're beautiful, you can say thank you, but inside you're already thinking, yeah, I know, not in an arrogant way, but in a secure way, because your sense of worth isn't coming from them anymore. And when that shift happens, your dating life changes too. You stop chasing people just because they look good. You stop trying to prove something to the world. You stop needing to be the exception to someone who clearly isn't available. Instead, you start asking better questions. Do I actually like this person? Do they treat me well? Do we align in values? Do I feel respected and secure around them? Because when ego is removed from the equation, what's left is clarity. And looking at my dating life now compared to before, I can see that growth. I don't tie my worth to someone choosing me anymore. If someone is interested in me, great. If they're not, that's okay too, because it doesn't change how I see myself. And ironically, when you stop chasing validation, dating becomes a lot healthier. You're no longer trying to win. You're just trying to find someone who fits. And that's a completely different mindset.